Hey everyone, Nereza here, and I just wanted to bring you some information about the buffs and nerfs coming to Unite. There is a patch coming. They announced it during the Asia Championship League. I don't have any official post or anything like that, so I'm just going to be looking over here at a tweet from El Chico EV. Thank you so much for putting it all together so we can talk about these, and I'll put everything up on the screen over here, right in front of this Christmas tree, because yes, it is still Christmas in my heart. So let's take a look here. Look over here and start with the buffs. So some of these, I read through some of them already, so I'm gonna try to react as if it's new, and some of them are a little out there, and I think I'm gonna react as if they're new anyway. But let's start with Darkrai. So Darkrai is getting a buff to Dark Void, Nasty Plot, Shadow Claw, and Worst Nightmare. It's Unite move. So Dark Void is getting a cooldown reduction of 1 second. Nasty Plot is getting a 15% damage increase, which for those of you that don't know, Nasty Plot itself doesn't hit, but like when you use it, but it hits later, it adds additional sort of like crit Dark Void damage. And so that's getting a 15% increase, which I think is ludicrous. Shadow Claw is getting an increase of 10% for damage done inside Dark Pulse. So that's kind of cool, but if I remember correctly, that's what was broken the first time. So that's currently one of the movesets of choice, so that might be a little wild. And then Worst Nightmare is getting a 12-second cooldown reduction on that Unite move. So that's down to 100 seconds instead of 112 seconds. For comparison, Glaceon's Unite move is 100 seconds right now. So that's pretty fast. It is a speedster, but that's pretty fast. Psyduck. Disable is getting a 15% damage increase and bounces to same person amount 1 to 2. I don't know what that means exactly because it does already bounce. It can bounce back onto you. I'm wondering if that means if you're in a 1v1 situation, it can bounce like to yourself one time, so you get like 2 hits. I don't know, but it already sounds like that makes Disable a terrible, annoying move, so good for Psyduck. Psychic, a cooldown reduction of a whole second down to 6.5, and Full Power Psy damage reduction from 25% to 30%. So whoever sort of gets caught in that gets an increased damage reduction. That's pretty cool. Charizard, just regular old Charizard. Flamethrower, 12% damage increase. I feel like that might be a way to get Charizard, the non-megas, to sort of be viable again, but it did need a little help. Seismic Slam, flight duration from 8 seconds to 10 seconds. That is actually also pretty cool. The flying part of the Unite move, which you do not get. Do you get it for Mega Charizard Y? I don't remember, but you don't get it for Mega Charizard X. That's pretty cool that it's getting a little extra, because that's kind of a special thing for the non-mega. Galarian Rapidash. Galarian Rapidash. Why? Dazzling Gleam, 7.5% damage increase. I don't know that I needed this. And Agility is getting a speed buff. So from leveling 1 through 15, it's normally 5 to 80%. Now it's 20 to 80%. So 20% right off the bat when you get Agility is wild. And I said level 1, but clearly it's when you get the move. Garchomp. HP defense and special defense increases, so full stat increases, and critical hit rate from 5-10% to 7.5 15%. That is wild, and with the lifesteal, it's gonna be, this thing ripping with a rapid fire scarf. This is gonna be wild. It's one of the top securers, and it'll just become worse. Comfey, because why not? Floral healing, 6 to 14% healing increase. Magical Leaf cooldown from 10 seconds to 9 seconds. These aren't wild buffs, but like Comfey is Comfey, so you know. Tinkaton, this one's kind of fun actually. I feel like we're gonna see a little more Tinkaton meta with this. Boosted auto, 20% healing increase. That's massive. Ice Hammer, a 25% damage increase, 25%, and the slow effect of 50 to 70%, decaying by 10% every half second. So we're increasing the slow on other enemies, and the decay will come from a higher number. So that'll be slowing enemies a lot more. Smackdown self-slow from 50 to 30%. That's huge, right? A 20% reduction in how much you slow yourself. And then the cooldown going from 6.5 seconds to 6 seconds. There's a note here that it might have already been 6 seconds, but either way, it looks like they're trying to get it to be 6 seconds. So, Kiss Bliss Kaboom, the Unite move, 8% damage increase. That did need a damage increase. So I think we're gonna see a lot of Tinkaton. Ceruledge. Weak Armor. The duration increased by 33 seconds. So when Weak Armor goes off, the passive, it's going to get a 33% increase in how long it lasts. So that's a lot. Phantom Force cooldown from 8 to 7 seconds. That's for I think that's for the plus move, but either way, it's a 1 second cooldown reduction. And an 8% damage increase, which I think is okay. Bitter Blade, 10% damage increase. That's wild. Especially since the healing, I believe, is based on the actual damage done, so I might pick up Cerule Edge and give it a shot. Trevenant Woodhammer cooldown from 9 to 8 seconds with a 10% damage increase. I don't know that it needed this. I was really worried when I saw Trevenant getting buffs, but this isn't too wild. I play Curse Pain Split anyway, and maybe I'll try Woodhammer to see. But that cooldown reduction, 8 seconds could be at one of those breaking points where you're constantly Woodhammering, so that might be cool to see. Nerfs. There's a couple on here that are actually, like, will change the gameplay fundamentally, and they're these two. Zacian. Sovereign Sword from unstoppable to hindrance resistance. So being able to stop Zacian during Sovereign Sword is game-changing for fighting against Zacian. And then this one, Blaziken. Overheat. Unstoppable to hindrance resistance. Being able to stop Overheat fundamentally changes how Blaziken players will use Overheat. That is huge. I mean, even like doing any kind of secure or anything like that, it's going to have to be sort of a bush hidey situation where you eject out or something, because people are definitely going to stop you from full charging and waiting for that secure. Mega Gyarados, Mold Breaker, attack buff from 25% to 10%, defense and special defense buff from 30% to 10%, so you don't just suddenly get to be mega strong and defensive right out of the gate with your passive. The Mega version of Waterfall, a cooldown decrease on hit from 30% to 10%. So a little bit better there. Mega Gyarados was a little overpowered. I don't think it was like out of control, but I think I think the Mold Breaker decrease will actually really help. Mega Charizard Y, Flamethrower, 12% damage increase. That's a buff. Seismic Slam, the ult shield. Oh, the shield from actually becoming Mega Charizard Y will go from 20 to 10% of max HP, and the speed buff will go from 50 to 30%. So I guess it's a buff nerf. The 12% damage increase on Flamethrower is interesting. I didn't think that needed that, but I guess if you're losing some of your shield, maybe. I don't know. That seems off. Mega Mewtwo X, attack, slight decrease in its attack stat from 540 to 520, but it starts at 210 instead of 190, so it actually, like, did that. Teleport damage buff, 2030 to 1020%. Future Sight damage dealt, 20-30% to 1020, and a cooldown increase. So Mega Mewtwo X getting a little bit of a nerf. In some cases a pretty big nerf, but essentially it's still going to be a menace, but that it's not going to have nearly as much burst. It kind of had Speedster burst. Like, once it was Mega Mewtwo X, you were kind of out of luck. Glaceon, Icicle Spear, cooldown from 5 to 6 seconds with an 8% damage decrease. Honestly, I think it just puts it back at the way Icicle Spear was before, so it's still Icicle Spear. Glacial Stage, a cooldown from 100 seconds to 112 seconds. So earlier, actually, when I mentioned Glaceon, so now it looks like it's going to be more. Glaceon did have a very fast recharging Unite move, so this is probably good. Scissor, this one I thought was weird. Boosted attack, defense increase per stack 50 to 40%, so a slight decrease in the defense every time you stack your boosted. And then Sword Dance, attack buff 20 to 15%, so a little bit less of an attack buff with Sword Dance. I don't know that Scissor was like a menace. He's still going to be rough to play against, because Bullet Punch, Sword Dance Bullet Punch is just obnoxious, but I don't know, maybe, hopefully it doesn't render it unplayable, because I feel like I've been seeing him usable a little bit more, especially in solo queue, so anyway. And Vaporeon fixed a bug where stats spiked at level 5 instead of level 4. What I think is interesting about that is that's technically kind of a buff, right? So Vaporeon's going to be stronger when it evolves. But Muddy Water cooldown gets a half-second increase with a 15% damage increase. That's fair. Did I say increase? Damage decrease. That's fair, because Muddy Water being that disruptive and that painful was silly. And then Flip Turn, damage and shield amount 15% decrease. I don't know if Flip Turn needed a damage decrease, but the shield definitely needed to be decreased. So as a defender, I guess damage decrease would make sense anyway. It doesn't need to be the one with top KOs, it should be defending. So I think Flip Turn and Muddy Water as disruptive moves make much more sense. And finally, Latias, Dragon Pulse, cooldown with a half-second increase to 6.5 seconds, and a healing decrease of 10%. Latias, I don't know that it like needed the nerfs, but it was just slightly on the really too good side. So I think that makes total sense. I don't think it's a problem. But anyway, that's it, y'all. That is the patch. When is this patch coming? Truly do not know. I have forgotten. I'll go ahead and put the date on the screen, probably like somewhere here is when you're going to see the patch. They are waiting till after all these championship leagues, obviously, so I would assume probably next week. And that's it. I might stream a little bit of this when the patch goes live. If not, I'll definitely make some videos. I'm excited to see what this does. I'm excited for to get into this new season. I'd be more excited for them to make it so that we can have draft mode without the entire game crashing, but hey, we're going to get there. So that's it. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you for listening to me go over all of these, and I will see you on the game. Bye.